serving police officer. Well, more now on that news that Britain's giving Ukraine an extra £1 billion in military support. That is almost a doubling of British military support for the fight against Russia. The UK is currently the second biggest donor to Ukraine in terms of military support after the United States. And since the Russian invasion began, has sent a total of £3.8 billion to Ukraine. That is both military and humanitarian aid. The latest promise of help comes on the last day of the NATO summit in Madrid, where the alliance has agreed to strengthen its forces in Eastern Europe. And meanwhile, Ukraine has been claiming that it has seized the strategically important Snake Island in the Black Sea. Now, Russia insists its forces have simply withdrawn from there as what they call a gesture of goodwill. Well, Kasia Madera, as I mentioned, is at that NATO summit in Madrid. And no surprise, really, Kasia, that Ukraine is pretty much the only item on the agenda.
Ukraine very much topping the bill here. The concern over that war that is raging and the losses in terms of human life and the impact on this country and on this region, absolutely at the forefront of this alliance when they are thinking about their direction in going forward. And this summit, this is all about what direction this alliance of 30, soon to be 32 member states are moving in. They've got to get it right. That's the whole point about getting a strategic concept that works and moves this alliance in the right direction. Because if you think about what they were talking about back in 2010, with the last time that they put this guidelines together, Russia was being considered. It was hoped that it was a strategic partner. Now, for the first time, Russia is being described as a direct threat. A number of different firsts here as well at this summit in Madrid. For the first time, we're talking about the challenge that is being brought by China's growing military might, and also, of course, concern over climate change and how member states need to work together to tackle the challenges brought forward by climate change. But yes, absolutely, Ben, Ukraine very much at the forefront of people's minds here, at leaders' minds. And President Biden just earlier was speaking about the commitments that this alliance, that the member states have to Ukraine. And he was talking about the amount of money, the extra money that he will be pledging. And also he was talking about the fact that for the first time in Eastern Europe, there will be a US Army headquartered permanently in Poland. So a lot of firsts, like I was saying. So let's talk about some of these findings from this summit here. We're going to speak to the former NATO commander, Major General Paul Hermes. Paul, you were a senior intelligence officer when Russia annexed Crimea. You're seeing how the alliance has grown, has invigorated itself following this summit. I wonder, when you look at the pledges that are being made, we heard from Volodymyr Zelensky that Ukraine needs $5 billion a month just to be able to sustain itself through this period. Has enough been said and done following this summit, Paul?
Thank you, Kasia, and it's good to see you again. If I'm looking back to 2014, I think that NATO as an alliance moved a long way ahead. It's quite difficult to recognize the kind of things which we had in 2014 and what we have now. But we have to recognize the thing that things were done gradually, and for a long time there was a bit of an imbalance between the measures taken by NATO in the Black Sea and those taken in the Baltic Sea. I dare to say that now with the summit in Madrid is the first real sign where we see that that imbalance is corrected. The commitments, especially from the United States of America, with having a brigade in Romania, it's a strong sign. And I also need to show the fact that for the latest 2 years, we've seen huge involvement from United Kingdom, Canada, Italy, when it comes to Air Force being deployed in Romania. When it comes to what you mentioned about Ukraine, I think that we are moving now in a new, let's say, situation, and it's now clear that Ukraine needs a constant and strong support from the whole members of the alliance and other countries which are not members of NATO but are like-minded democracy in the world.
And Paul, you're originally from Romania. We're hearing troops being pledged to Romania. And of course, I was touching upon the fact that for the first time, we're going to have a US military presence permanently HQ'd in a former Soviet bloc country in Poland. I wonder, in terms of these kind of commitments, this will be really galvanizing and reassuring for that part of the world.
Yes, of course. I applaud all the measures which United States announced at this summit. I also applaud all the hard efforts done by United States, especially since 2014. I mean, what we see now is not just something done overnight. It's, let's say, bricks over bricks over bricks. And if we are looking now of the commitments taken at the NATO levels, I dare to say that in a way it's just using the experience of what United States was doing with prepositioning equipment and stocks and all that thing, the development of infrastructure, which have been done for years. Here in Romania, we've been lucky to have great commitments from the United States in this respect. Also for having the capabilities to develop the early warning and intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance capabilities necessary to understand exactly what is happening and to follow the events in the Black Sea area.
Major General Paul Hermers, former NATO commander, thank you very much for your thoughts. And it's that reinforcement and also the reunification and a reinvigoration of NATO that is really critical and at the minds, at the forefront of world leaders here. And Jens Stoltenberg will be pleased with the decisions and the united message that NATO has brought together when it comes to the aggression that Ukraine is facing, and ultimately Jens Stoltenberg saying that Ukraine can count on the alliance for as long as it takes, because when we witness what is happening on the ground in Ukraine itself, it's impossible to say when this conflict will end then. OK, Kasia, many thanks for that and to your guest. And by the way, we've just heard more on the Reuters news agency from Russia, which is that the Russian authorities are saying they have summoned the British